Testing, testing. Good morning. Very warm welcome this morning. A couple of notices. If you're a visitor here, if it's your first time or if you're relatively new to the church, you're just as welcome as anybody who's been coming years. And the encouragement for all of us is to bring yourself. We don't have to be anybody we're not, and we don't have to do anything we don't want to. You don't have to sing, you don't have to dance. I've asked a few people to help me out, actually. This is for good to have feedback on this. I've asked a few people to help me out this morning, and we always give people the opportunity to say no, and half have said no, and half have said yes. And that is our culture. If somebody doesn't want to, there's no pressure, and that applies to all of us for the whole of it. A notice from Katie and myself, and this is our eldest daughter, Hannah, and Ryan, her partner, and Oscar in the middle there, proudly holding his brother Marley, who was born during the week, and we wanted to show you a picture of them. Such a joy. And good to hear if you know people who are going there one day, or I know we've got one or two from the church perhaps at some stage, but the maternity at Worthing Hospital were absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I think each time it's like they haven't seen a baby before in terms of their reaction, you know. So, yeah, absolutely really touched by hearing how amazing they were. The next note is not so nice and serious, but in a different way, is one of the charities we have supported for a few years since the Ukraine war has been going on, is Dnipro Home Mission. And some of you give, anonymously, I don't know who gives and what they give. For our carol service this year, we're going to be donating any money to Dnipro. They're on the front line, and we've had a message from the friend I know who started the trust, Joshua Searle, and the actual region where one of their main houses, one of their main homes is literally being bombed. And the Russian technique, you've probably heard on the news, is to try and disrupt the electricity, the heating, all the essentials for people. And an inkling, if you know how cold it gets in that region. So they're asking desperately for our prayers. And again, if you would like to give what you can, not what you can't. Then there's information in the news sheet, there's information on the back wall, and you can find them, Dnipro Home Mission, their website as well. Next Sunday, as a Baptist church, we have a few church meetings every year, and one of them we try to do on a morning after a service so that people who aren't members can get some kind of insight into who we are, or more of an insight into who we are. So next Sunday, there will be a shorter than usual service, but it will overflow into an open church meeting. So not a formal meeting, but it will give everybody an opportunity. You're all invited to stay for that, to hear and see who the team are, something about one of our big fundraising campaigns. It's not about asking for money, but it's more information. And the thing that might draw you here, if you are thinking of going off elsewhere, is our wonderful cake supplier, who supplied cakes for us over the last couple of years, is also providing cakes. So there's coffee and cakes to bring back in for the meeting. So yeah, if you can stay on for that, that would be fantastic. We're going to hear words from Psalm 46, and we're going to see them on the screen. And if you can read them, if you can see them, then the invitation, if you'd like to, is to read them together. So we say together, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth gives way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging. I invite you to stand if you're able. Please have a seat. I'm glad when I do ask and invite people over the years, and some people say no, and maybe 5 years later they feel, because it's quite scary coming up here, isn't it? Most people feel a bit kind of, at least a bit anxious coming up here. But I'm glad some people say yes, and I've asked a few people this morning to think about a trouble, a problem, something they have had in their past, and it can be big or small. When I say big or small, it's relative, because something that sounds small to us, me not getting in the football team at secondary school, that was big, but it might sound small to you. But they've agreed to do that. Then I'm going to ask them a couple of follow-up questions. So thank you for saying yes. And Howard, do you mind coming to join me to begin with? Can we show Howard our support and our love? So asked you to come with a problem or trouble from the past, big or small. Do you mind saying a little bit about what came to mind?
Yeah, so it's a very small one. You might call it a minor inconvenience, which is losing your car keys. If you're a car owner, you've probably been there. Who do you blame? That's the question, when you lose your car keys. Losing my car keys, but what made it a problem was the circumstances and the location and maybe my frame of mind on the day. Do
you mind saying a little bit more about that?
Okay, so I was with my partner Lanny. We were in Wales. We were on holiday. We were in a very remote part of Wales. And we'd been around a nature reserve for a walk. We came back into the car park. It was getting dark. It was starting to rain. And I suddenly discovered that I'd lost the car keys. There are a few other things you need to know. It was in the days before mobile phones, so we didn't have a phone, we didn't have a light. We had a torch, of course, because everybody carries a torch, but it was locked in the car. Yeah. Also, Lanny was pregnant, so we weren't going to walk around in the dark for another few hours looking for the car keys. So that was why it became a problem on that particular day.
One of the verses we're going to look at later, did either of you say to the other one, consider it joy, pure joy, when troubles come?
It wasn't the first scripture that came to mind, I have to say. I was obviously feeling guilt because I'd lost the car keys. I had them when we went out. I didn't have them when we came back, so there was that feeling. We felt totally helpless, to be honest. There were 2 cars left in the car park. One was an ice cream van, and the other one was at the far end with a few young lads in it. And the nearest village was miles away. We just didn't know what to do. We sat on a wall beside the car. I just felt disempowered, helpless, totally out of control of my life at that moment. And just couldn't even think, what do I do next?
It's great not knowing what people are going to come and say what the trouble is, because the questions are kind of like set in my head. So looking back, did you learn anything from that?
I want to say I don't want to go through it again. It wasn't a pleasant experience. And why would you want to go through those things? What did I learn from that? I think for the moment, for the time it took us before we did eventually get our car keys back, but that's another story. For the time it took us just sitting there, I had a glimpse into what it feels like to be out of control of your life, to just feel that disempowerment. And some people feel that every single day of their lives, or maybe for years. I felt it for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and it wasn't pleasant. So I guess from that point of view, maybe it taught me a little bit of empathy.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And keep clapping, because Alex is going to come forward as well. So the same question for Alex is, mentioned a problem, big or small, from the past. And do you mind saying what came to mind for you?
Well, there's lots. I was just trying to speak with Anthony at the back and try and narrow it down a bit. And also I'm live, so I didn't want to do anything too profound. I think the obvious one, over the summer we went to Iceland and we rented a camper van. You won't want to ever lend me yours. And we looked up before we went into Reykjavik, because we were going to see the whales. We were going to get a boat, and that's the reason we'd gone over there, is to see the humpback whales. And I'd looked it all up about where to park, and there was a recommendation to park in a underground car park. And as I come up, go down the slip road, I said to my mum, I said, that says 2.2 meters and the camper van is 3.1. So I realized I couldn't go in. So as I tried to turn the camper van around, it basically, something from the roof speared right through the middle of the camper van, straight through. So we were now stuck. I couldn't go forward and I couldn't go back. So we went and got the maintenance team of the conference centre, who had to unscrew the bolts of this pole that was basically, the camper van was a kebab at this point, and remove it. And they're now pursuing me for £23,500. By the way, it doesn't cost that much. I think they're trying their luck, but that's where I'm at the moment.
Again, I'm glad I don't know what you're going to say, so I can ask the questions afterwards. Looking back, what have you learned from it, if anything?
I've learned that you should read the small print in terms and conditions, because the roof is not covered by indie campers. I have learnt to not always go with your first option and explore multiple others, because actually literally just a couple of 100 metres away was free parking in an outdoor car park, which would have been even more convenient to the boat trip. But what I've learned from it is, I mean, I have a lot of financial insecurity at the moment, as you can probably imagine, with that hanging over my head. But it's made me just look at what I need to spend money on, because I've got this uncertainty, and learning to try and let go of it. I just looked at my emails, actually, because I've not heard from them since the 2nd of October, and I don't know what that means. I don't know if they're just going to go. But yeah, it's been quite stressful. They managed to get a lot of money from my account without permission, just withdrew it. So yeah, it's an ongoing battle, but it's a process of learning to let go of what may be and keep it in the moment.
Thank you so much. Sounds horrendous. And I can see anybody who's done that or got a camper van and go, oh my word, that's so scary. But thank you for sharing that as well. Thank you. And Mona, can we carry on clapping for Mona, who's going to come and join me? How cruel when you come back from university and the first thing somebody asks you, do you mind coming to... But thank you for saying yes. And what problem, it was only about 10 minutes ago I asked you, did anything come to mind?
Yes, so I live with 6 people at the moment, and last year we were all friends, and it was really exciting because it's like, oh, I'm going to live with all my friends, and it's going to be like, I don't know, friends. And after a while, it got a little bit difficult because it's just like, you know, they would just find clothes everywhere, and we lived with 3 boys, 3 girls, so it's like, I'm finding boxes everywhere, and there's just things being left in the kitchen for like days, and it was just like, you know, you're living with your friends, you kind of expect them to know how to be human beings, and then and then you live with them and you're like, oh no, that's the complete opposite. I don't know who you are anymore. And it's like, you're still my friend, but I wish I never lived with you because I want to bury you in the garden. So it's like, yeah, it's a very difficult situation.
I'm so glad I didn't know what you were going to say. Have you learnt anything from this?
I have become more of a patient person. It took a lot. I'm still living with a different group of 6 people now. Don't live with 6 strangers. I think the overall lesson is don't live with 6 people. It's a lot of people to live with. It's very stressful. But I've become more patient, I would say. That might be all. That might be all.
No, sounds good. And thank you so much for sharing that as well. Thank you. If you go to university choosing who, but knowing problems can come anyway, I'm glad they do come, because there was a house in Reading about many years ago, and some women who were living together. There were kind of like tensions in the house, and one moved out and I moved in. And hello, Katie. So I'm glad sometimes things do happen and something good comes out of them. Can I invite you to stand again if you're able? Please have a seat. From time to time, if you're regular here, you'll know that I interview people who agree to be interviewed in a bit more depth. And John's going to come forward and interview me. And my life has been mixed. So when you hear this, the focus is going to be on what comes to mind when he asks me about different problems and troubles in my past. But there were good bits as well, okay? I'm going to try and be honest, but there were good bits as well. And I was smiling during that song because Katie reminded me not to tell you my story about when I became unemployed and interest rates were high, because those of you who have been here, the trouble when you've been here 16 years, you start to repeat stories. So I'll try and think of something different. And John, can we show John some love and me some love?
Good morning, everybody. This is a powerful moment for me because now the interviewer is going to be the interviewee. So, Mike, we're going to talk a bit about things that have happened to you during your life and look at how that affected you then and what kind of ways that's changed you now and how you might act differently in the future. So the first thing we're going to ask you is, did you have anything challenging, anything difficult around your sort of preschool time when you were a small child?
Again, it sounds ridiculous to me, but it's true, and I've checked it out. I checked it out with my mum, and I checked it out with my sisters afterwards as an adult. But my first memory was when I was 2, and it was my mum and dad arguing on the stairs, my mum leaving the house with me and taking me to a friend's house. And yeah, being homeless. I remember being homeless. We moved out of the family home with my 3 sisters, and I remember trying to find somewhere to live. I remember ending up with a rather dodgy uncle and his wife. So we were there for about a year, and then I remember going to somebody else's house. Then I do remember the night when I was about 3 that we moved into a grotty little caravan on a grotty, very rough caravan site in posh Sunbury-on-Thames. So we moved from a nice house to that, and I remember all of that, so yeah.
So those collections of pretty negative things for a small child must have touched your heart in a negative way, I guess. What were you feeling at the time, do you think?
I do remember them, but I don't remember how I was processing it at the time. I had very vivid, I just remember this, I had very vivid dreams at the time. And in the dreams, it was me leading an army against the witches and wizards who were bad in my dreams, and I was trying to get everybody to do good. And it was a really vivid dream I had time after time. And as an adult, when I process, I wonder if I was trying to get some kind of control. It must have been for a little kiddie, a total sense of lack of control. Yeah.
Those are difficult times. Did things change and get better as you went on to school? Maybe junior school, primary school, middle school, high school? Any further sort of situations like that?
So I've moved about 30 times in my life. So we moved after about 2 or 3 years in the caravan. So I started primary school, and again, this came to mind, is the first day of primary school, I was beaten up in the locker room by an older boy who happened to live on the caravan site as well. I remember the trauma of then moving down to Folkestone to a lovely new school, but I remember the trauma of going to a new primary school and just standing, some of you might have heard this, but it's very vivid, standing in the middle of the playground, crying my eyes out, and somebody coming and standing alongside me, which was lovely. But I remember that feeling, that it was very traumatic.
So were you feeling feelings of abandonment, loneliness, having to look after yourself?
As an adult, it's hard to remember those feelings, isn't it, or what it was all about. But I just remember that trauma and wanting to be liked, wanting to make friends, which I became very good at because I think I learned to adapt in all of this. But then at secondary school, I had loads of friends. I did have loads of friends at primary school and girlfriends, believe it or not, at primary school. Secondary school, I went to an all-boys school, and suddenly there were no girls around, and that was a shock into this male culture as well. And I again, as an adult and having had a bit of therapy, I think when I was about 14, 15, when I got acne as well, it all came back to me, and a sense of shame as though I'd caused a divorce and, moved from a house to this grotty place. And although there was that popularity and, playing all the sports and lead singer in the rock band and all that stuff, but I had a crushing sense of loss of self-esteem and became very social phobic. So that was the start of many years of trying to navigate through that.
So do you think you found that being in the band, having lots of friends, was some sort of cover, some kind of mask for what you were hiding underneath, perhaps feelings of abandonment, feelings of your parents not being what you thought they should have been for you?
I still don't understand it. All I know is I became very good at being with people. And, and I look back and I think, oh, this poor boy had to do all this. Something was driving me, but I became, teacher's pet. And again, girlfriends, and being in the band. But even being in the band, which was fantastic, loved it. But I remember one night at band practice around somebody's house, I lost my confidence, so I pulled out the band. So this pattern, and then I missed so much school. I don't know how I got my A-levels, but I missed so much school because, and it was a kind of two things going on, being very adaptable and very sociable, but then something I didn't understand, just whipping the carpet out. Yeah.
So you got through school and along came university. Did things get better for you?
I did take 2 years out, some of you know, to try and get my head together and did some amazing things abroad. But then I started studying law at university. I wanted to be a barrister. And during my first term, I had another crisis. Lots of good things going on, but I had another crisis. So I dropped out of university in the days where I didn't know you could do that and survive. So I dropped out of university. Thankfully, after another year, got into another good university and changed direction. And was starting to, in my late teens, early 20s, starting to realise I needed to process things a bit more.
So was that a little bit of an escape mechanism to leave university the first time? To try and re-establish yourself and find out where you were? How did you feel at that time? Were you feeling, again, isolated, abandoned, or in control?
I think it's probably lack of control, not isolated or abandoned at that stage. Although, I was away from my girlfriend at that time, thankfully away from my family. I didn't want to be, at home still for me. I wanted to be out, but I guess a bit of isolation at university. But also this kind of bouncy thing of, at one point, being very confident and competent and looking that way. People never knew all this stuff was going on. But then something falling away from inside, and then, escaping. I think it was just running away from that university, a bit of a pattern.
How's it been since then, right up to now, today?
Again, I often say this when I'm speaking up here, but life is like parallel tracks. For me, it has been that it's never all good. But there's been some amazing things in my life as well, so I've had that balance. I think problems come up, don't they? I've had a few. I don't usually tell everybody because ministers are told not to, because the church can get very, very worried if you do it in the wrong way and think something's about to happen. But I've been through a couple of health scares since I've been here. When you put on that fast track cancer thing. And it was all fine. It was all fine 2 or 3 times, all fine. But I know that waiting for the results, that kind of feeling. So being through that, we've had various financial struggles at different times. But the thing that I started doing in my early 20s, and I've carried on doing, is not just ignoring all that stuff, but actually leaning into it through, asking for help early on, lots of counselling, lots of group work, lots of, self-reflection. So, it's almost like it was from a baby. It was kind of like, wow, the trauma, then mixed stuff, but still very easily pull back to that trauma. But then it's been like that since my mid-20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. Mixed, but lots of healing. And often speak about it. This is why I preach about it so much. From a little boy who felt a lot of shame to actually learning to love myself, hopefully in a healthy way.
Well, of course, we love you here, and we see good things in you. With the power of hindsight, would you look back and say, good things have come out of it? Have you shaped yourself differently? Have you become a better man, a worse man? How would you describe the looking back in hindsight?
Again, those who have been here a long time will know this. My first sermon here 17 years ago was about having the thorn in the flesh and how God can work within that. And that wasn't just theoretical, theological. It's because I have had that thorn in my flesh. And again, I'd be stupid to have chosen it. And I longed for things to have been different at times. But I have come to that place where who I am, who I like, has been shaped by all of that. And that's why I can preach on thorn in the flesh or God working in things for the good, because it's learnt rather than theory. I was thinking about this morning or last night, that when it comes to homelessness, because we've been homeless a lot of times and risked it, Kate and I, when we've had various problems before coming here, risk of potentially becoming homeless or not having a house to retire into and that stuff. So, but all that's helped me navigate that and make decisions, but it also has given me compassion and concern for people in the Ukraine, people locally who are struggling with mental health, accommodation, families that, disperse for whatever reason, and a real... I was very, very moved. I've got to be careful what I say here, but I think it's okay to say this. I remember as a toddler, my mum going away, and obviously I had my dad. I didn't see much of my dad, but my mum coming back from holiday and saying how I didn't miss her because of my reaction. I ignored her when she came back. Bless her, she didn't realise that was part of the trauma. Real compassion for Oscar, because Mum and Dad were away in hospital when Marley was being born recently, and then seeing, when Mum comes back, obviously, it's all going to be lovely, happy family. No, because Oscar, you could tell that it had shaken him naturally, and Kate knows this. Anybody would have seen that and know this is just how a toddler reacting kind of thing. It's all very natural, and how Hannah and Ryan dealt with it was brilliant, consistency. But I could feel the empathy for little Oscar. I think, and I think that's been the same, as a counsellor, and then as a minister pastorally. You can never say I know exactly how you're feeling, because you don't. But I know what pain feels like and loss. So, definitely helped. And faith-wise, cliche time, but it happens to be true. I didn't have a faith back then as such, but I think I do as a child, as a teenager. Something was going on. But certainly since my mid-20s, when I came to faith, with the mixed stuff, blessings, amazing stuff, and also certain struggles, health, financial, whatever. It's that I can really see how God has worked within that. Not for 1 minute. I used to think he did, but not for 1 minute thinks he causes any of that. But with hindsight, I can see, oh wow, with me every step of the way. And this isn't my credit, it just happens to be my personality. Every time something came along, I lent into God. And soon found that works for me. So it's my default thing, any new thing. I had another, as you know, thing a few weeks ago where I had to see a consultant about some skin condition that could have been serious, and that not knowing until you see the consultant. And it's all good, it's all fine. But during that waiting and not knowing, my default is to lean into God and spend time with God. And yeah, so I have definitely, not theory, I've definitely learned stuff.
Thank you, Mike. You've answered my last question that I never quite got to ask. I did want to know, when all of us are in times of struggle, we find ways of fighting through, we find ways of surviving, because that's life, isn't it? But I wanted to know how God had helped you, and I think you've answered that. So it's good to know that God does lift us up, when even though we lift ourselves up, God is there also to underpin what we're doing and guide us in those right ways. So just finally, anything else you'd like to add?
The only thing that just comes to mind finally, and again, this is why I say it so much, it's everybody's choice, but what I have learned is that it's okay to ask for help. And I only learned that because I had to as a teenager, in my 20s, and again in my 30s, and that's why, you know, my heart's cry to people when I see them struggling. And I know how scary people find it. I've been there. Is often God works through the people who are there to help. So not to be afraid to ask for help. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. I'm going to read through, some of you might be, can you all hear me there? Familiar with the Northumbria community. And I'm going to read through the daily prayer. I've been doing this for years, and some of you have taken this up recently. So these are words from the evening prayer, and I'm going to read through them. And the reason I'm doing that is because then we're going to go through them slowly. And the invitation is, if one of them resonates to you today particularly, and nobody's going to come and ask you why afterwards, or, you know, tell me about that. This is between you and God, but a community aspect to it as well. Is when we go through it the second time, I'm going to invite you, as an act of prayer or openness to God, to stand up if one particularly resonates. So let me read them through to begin with. Lord, you have always given bread for the coming day, and though I am poor today, I believe. Lord, you have always given strength for the coming day, and though I'm weak, today I believe. Lord, you have always given peace for the coming day, and though of anxious heart, today I believe. Lord, you have always kept me safe in trials, and now tried as I am, today I believe. Lord, you have always marked the road for the coming day, and though it may be hidden, today I believe. Lord, you have always lightened this darkness of mine, and though the night is here, today I believe. Lord, you have always spoken when time was ripe, and though you be silent now, today I believe. And the invitation is, if you want to stand up, and maybe remain standing, if one of them particularly resonates with you. So I'll read them again. Lord, you have always given bread for the coming day. Though I am poor, today I believe. Lord, you have always given strength for the coming day. And though I am weak, today I believe. Lord, you have always given peace for the coming day. And though of anxious heart, today I believe. Lord, you have always kept me safe in trials, and now tried as I am, today I believe. Lord, you have always marked the road for the coming day, and though it may be hidden, today I believe. Lord, you have always lightened this darkness of mine, and though the night is here, today I believe. Lord, you have always spoken when time was ripe, and though you be silent now, today I believe. And I know for some of you who aren't able to physically stand, you would have been doing some other gesture in your heart for that. Lord, you knew all that, you see all that. Thank you that you do, and thank you for your compassion that has come partly through your experience of walking this earth and suffering yourself. Amen. Going to have a reading now, and the words will be on the screen, but going to invite Joyce to come forward and read from James chapter 1.
James chapter 1, verses 1 to 8. I, James, am a slave of God and the Master Jesus, writing to the 12 tribes scattered to the kingdom come. Hello. Consider it a sheer gift, friends, when tests and challenges come at you from all sides. You know that under pressure, your faith life is forced into the open and shows its true colours. So don't try to get out of anything prematurely. Let it do its work so you become mature and well developed, not deficient in any way. Amen.
Thank you. From the Message translation, and some might be more familiar with the words in the New International Version or New Revised Standard Version. Consider it joy, pure joy, when troubles come. Would you choose a trouble-free life? Would you choose a trouble-free life? James, so possibly, many think was the brother of Jesus, around AD 30, so maybe 20 years or so after Jesus' resurrection, writing to Christians with a Jewish background who had been scattered, the diaspora, the dispersal throughout the Roman world at that time, places such as wider Judea, Samaria, Syria, Asia Minor, places we know as Turkey. After persecution and hardship, pushing them from their homes, becoming homeless. His audience were displaced, pressured, often poor, trying to live out their faith in real, hard, gritty circumstances from the stability they once knew, men and women living under pressure, facing uncertainty, facing hardship, and for some, as I say, homelessness. This isn't abstract theology. It's earthly, practical, deeply pastoral, and it's about faith for people of faith when life is uncertain. Right at the start, and I used to think this was so bizarre. I think at our old church we used to sing a song, consider it joy, pure joy, when troubles come. And what? Consider it joy, pure joy, brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. The word he uses literally means tests or trials, things that stretch us, the pressures of life, the hardships, troubles of many kinds that we all meet at some stage in life. James is saying this very clearly. When troubles come, and they will, learn to see them differently. Maybe even joy in trials, not after them. Really so countercultural. As I say that to you, I know it's so countercultural for all of us. Most of us spend our lives trying to avoid pain. So perhaps with this in mind, it will help us to imagine what that life might look like. So a perfect life, if you'll go with me in your imaginations with this. Picture, if you can, a person whose life unfolds trouble-free. Use your imaginations. They're born into a stable, loving home, parents who adore them, siblings who don't fight, even the family dog behaves really well all the time. At primary school, they're bright, kind, and really popular with everything, including the teachers. In fact, the teachers smile when they come into the room. Friendships come easily for this person. Lessons make sense at primary school. The future looks golden. At secondary school, it gets better and better. Sporty, artistic, captain of many teams, top of the class, and they win every award going. Teachers predict greatness for this person, and they're right. At university, they find the course that's just right for them at a very, very good university. They have great friends, never fall out with the people they stay with. They come to faith, they're baptized, and they're christened, and they go to part of a Christian union that never argues about theology. They graduate with honors, of course, and they glide straight into their dream job, where the boss mentors them so well and the colleagues look at them and admire them. They meet the love of their life, a relationship so natural and mutual, it's like the universe just smiled at them again. Marriage is amazing, never a crossword, full of laughter and mutual support. Children came along, bright, healthy, polite, and always grateful. As teenagers, they used to thank their parents without fail for the lifts, tidied their rooms without any prompting, never slammed doors. So this person joins a wonderful church which is loving, united, with music that moves heaven and earth. There's no cliques, there's no gossip, there's no egos going on within the room. Just grace upon grace. Their career thrives, finances improve even more. Never a doubt in God. Never a doubt in God. They retire early, still very fit and very youthful, with beautiful grandchildren who always want to visit and, like their own children, never cause any mess. Days are full of travel. Retirement is full of hobbies and laughter. Their face hasn't even wrinkled. It's as though they have found the fountain of youth. Anyone tempted to say, yes, please? Give me that. I'd have taken that, or something like that. The trouble with a trouble-free life. Now imagine this. One day, in the middle of that golden retirement, something happens. Maybe a serious illness. Maybe one of their perfect children faces depression, addiction, divorce. Maybe a close friend at church has a breakdown. Suddenly this person, who has never suffered or struggled, is in uncharted territory. How will they cope? They've never had to lean on anybody else before. They've never had to pray through those tears and sit in that frustrating silence with God. They've never had to build perseverance because their life has never required it. And when their church friend does confide in them about their despair, saying, I can't even get out of bed, this person genuinely wants to help, but they can't relate in any way. They've never known such darkness. Their empathy muscle was never stretched because nothing in their life ever hurt enough to teach them. They might even, trying to help, quote a verse, God won't give you more than you can handle, but it lands flat. Not because they're unkind, but because it's all in the head, and actually they're misquoting the verse. Or imagine one of their adult children, once the model believer, saying they no longer call themselves a Christian, and that they're angry at church or just disillusioned with church. Our perfect parent is bewildered. Their neat theology has no space for this. They've spent a lifetime living in sunlight, so when clouds finally form, they don't know how to find God in the dark or to draw on that inner strength. Without struggle, humility has never had room to grow. Without loss, compassion stayed theoretical. Without unanswered prayers, faith never moved from the head to the heart. A life without trouble may sound very comfortable, but in honesty, it risks being spiritually very, very, very thin. And of course, it's not that we should seek pain. Of course not. But I think the truth is this: the qualities that matter most are often forged in the heat of things we would never have chosen. The gift of trials, James, the gift of trials. None of us wants difficulty. I'm the same as you in that. I do not want any more difficulties in life. It would be strange, wouldn't it? Masochistic. Bring it on, bring it on. But what if, alongside the growth that comes from love and affirmation, and I think that is the other place we grow from, when we taste and know love, when we are loved by other people, sense that love of God. That's the other way that we grow. But the other main way we mature and blossom is through challenge. James says exactly that. He says, the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete. God does not cause the pain. God does not send the problems, the troubles, whatever theology we might have been taught. That's my belief. But God can work within them. Jesus says, in this world you will have troubles. He doesn't say you might. The question is not whether they'll come along, but how open are we to being shaped by them? How are we to respond? Can you relate to this? Different responses to pain. We can often do one of three things, other things as well. I can relate to these. We avoid or numb the pain. We try to pretend it's not there, or we keep it at bay by busyness, alcohol or whatever, scrolling or whatever, or even use religion. Oh, it's so popular, this one. I'm going to say it's more damaging than alcohol. It can be as damaging as substances. Super spirituality, spiritual bypass is used just as much to avoid reality. Or trying to control or fix problems, to give some sense of control in life where actually we don't have a lot of control. I must try harder. I must pray harder. I must try and manage everybody so there can't be any messiness in my life. Control conversations, that's a popular one. If I keep on talking, then I'm in control of this conversation. Or we grow bitter or cynical, understandably. Never again, I'm not going to trust anybody. I'm going to harden up. Or, the other popular one, anybody ever done that? Don't ever put your hand up for this. The blame game. It's all them. All understandable responses, not failures. But there is another way, not denying the pain, not drowning in it or choosing to drown in it, but leaning into it just enough to let it change us with God's help. Growth doesn't come from the problem itself, but I think from our openness within it. Richard Rohr, Franciscan monk, says, pain that is not transformed will be transmitted. All that stuff we keep buried, it doesn't go away. It just comes out and seeps out in unhelpful ways, relationally, within faith, whatever, in harmful ways for ourselves. The good news, I do believe, not just here, but here, is that God can work within our struggles. Romans 8:28, often quoted. And there's truth in it. God works in all things for the good. It doesn't say that all things are good. And have you heard this? Everything happens for a reason. Not everything happens for a reason. But nothing is beyond redemption. Through hardship, if we're open, God can grow character, resilience without hardness, perspective, clarity of what really matters in life. Actually, John, that's one of the things for me that has honed and honed and honed. What really is important? Compassion, gentleness, understanding, getting involved in causes of justice. Empathy, one of the most beautiful gifts. Understanding, feeling, not totally, but being alongside somebody who is in pain. And this strange phrase, but you know what I mean, soul maturity, the ability to know peace, hope, and joy, even when life isn't perfect. Paul, the Apostle Paul, tells us about that. And he didn't learn it in his head, he learned it through experience, not from a lovely yacht in the Mediterranean. Often he was more on a ship that was sinking. But when he wrote, rejoice in the Lord always, I say it again, rejoice, you have to say it because it sounds really bizarre. Paul wasn't in luxury, he was chained, he was hungry, he was facing uncertainty. Yet he radiates peace because his peace no longer depends on circumstances, it flows from presence. Paul has discovered the deepest joy isn't found in the absence of struggle, but in the presence of Christ, of God within it. That's what James, I think, means when he says, consider it pure joy. It's not joy about the hardship, it's joy that God is still at work within it. Wherever I have tasted peace, hope, joy, and I have tasted a lot of those things, it's priceless. But the price of it is experience. Learning that through hardship and struggle, as well as other things. It's learned only by living through enough storms that we finally know the waves don't have to have the last word. Troubles can also bring us together. That was such a beautiful act seeing people stand this morning. Individual, but together as well. Struggles can create shared strength. Think of the spirit of the Blitz or reading about it. And I imagine going on in the horrors of the Ukraine and have in the Middle East as well. Community care, supporting each other, hospitals doing their best, bringing out the best in each other, and charities and so on. When life falls apart, isolation kills. Have you experienced that? I have. When life falls apart, isolation kills, but connection heals. We suffer alone, but we heal together. And of course you can't tell somebody in deep pain, you're going to grow out of this. Growth is something we only recognize, I think, often from the inside, and only often with hindsight. It's not about pretending everything is okay or will be okay. It's about discovering we are not alone when things aren't okay. You know, I know, God's presence doesn't always take the pain away, but maybe it can keep the pain from having the final say, even those times when we don't feel or experience God, when you get that feeling that your prayers hit the ceiling. Let me draw this together. I think it is a choice, by grace, choosing openness. And I say that not just choose openness. It's life can be blooming tough. I think it's through openness to God and others that we find some of the answer to survive and to thrive. There is an old saying, and I've heard it too much in church, but I'm going to repeat it because it is worth saying. Troubles can either make you better or bitter. Troubles can either make you better or bitter. The same experience that hardens one heart can actually soften another. And the difference isn't in the trouble, the problem itself, but whether we allow the Spirit of God, I believe, to work within us. Maybe we can put it this way instead. How might God bring something life-giving out of what we'd never have chosen if only we're open to work with that grace rather than resist it? I think this is the invitation of faith. Not to pretend everything's fine, but to stay open enough for love to do its quiet, ongoing work. I'm going to leave you with a question to ponder if you want to. Where might God be at work in what you wish wasn't happening to you at the moment? Where might God be at work, trying to work in that thing that you wish wasn't happening to you at the moment? Where might God be at work in that thing that happened to you years ago that you didn't choose, but God can still work within?